Hi everybody, Jeremy Siskind here. I'm the author of the Jazz Piano Fundamental series, playing solo jazz piano. And let's see, we got this here, solo standards for piano. Here's a little fun look behind the scenes. I'm recording YouTube videos while watching my baby on the baby monitor. So let's hope that I can finish this video before he wakes up. So today I want to talk about what I call elegant enclosures. Elegant enclosures. And an elegant enclosure is this formula where you have a target note. All right. So, wow, that's wacky looking writing. So you've got a target note, a note that you're aiming for, and you're going to target this note. This is going so badly. You're going to target this one. This looks like my baby made it, actually, by ornamenting it with a diatonic upper neighbor. I don't know why this is suddenly so uneven. And a chromatic lower neighbor. This looks insane. Now, let's just dig into those terms a little bit. Okay, so diatonic means from the scale. Usually diatonic refers to a major scale. So if we're in the key of C, or at least momentarily in the key center of C, then maybe we're using the C major scale. And you might need to know or reference a little bit of chord scale theory to know what scale we're going to draw from for that diatonic upper neighbor. So because scales have both whole steps and half steps in them, the diatonic upper neighbor might be a whole step or it might be a half step, depending on where in the scale we are. So for instance, let's say that our target is C in a C major scale. Now our upper neighbor would be the note above C in the scale, so it would be D. Simple as that. Now if we're looking at, so that's a whole step, right? D is a whole step above C. If we're looking at a diatonic upper neighbor above E in that same C major scale, now we're going to be going up in the C major scale to F. Now that note is a half step. Okay, so just depending on the position in your scale, we might have a whole step or a half step. Okay. And then we're using a chromatic lower neighbor. Chromatic means that we're always going to use a half step. So we don't really need to think so much about the lower neighbor. And so for C, it would be B. And for E, it would be D sharp. Now, what's kind of interesting about these chromatic notes is sometimes they're going to be in the scale. Sometimes chromatic notes are diatonic, just based again on the scale pattern. So for instance, the B, that's your chromatic lower neighbor to C, that happens to be a note already of the C major scale. Whereas the D sharp, the note that's ornamenting the E from below, wow, I just made it worse. That is not, that's outside of the scale. I should show you how this sounds. That would be good teaching, right? So this is the sound that we're going for. And do you hear that it does really have that elegant sound? Now, you might ask, you're calling these elegant enclosures. Are there other types of enclosures? Well, the main other type of enclosure that we use is called a chromatic enclosure. Not talking about that today. Fantastic thing to know about. And that just simply means that we're choosing half steps above and below our target note. So if we are using C, we're going to go D flat, B, C. Chromatic enclosures tend to sound a little jazzier, a little bit crunchier. We're going further outside of the key. Not to say that they couldn't possibly be elegant, but they're just more chromatic. They're going further outside the key. So I guess those would be my two main types of enclosures, the chromatic enclosure and this more elegant enclosure. So let me show you some things that we can build from this. And we're going to start here. So what I've done here, wait, let's check in on the baby. Baby, he's still fast asleep. All right, great. What I've done here is I've shown you how to find or what this would look like for each note of the C major scale. And now this is actually kind of interesting. Well, let me play it for you, and then I'll yap. Okay, so let's break this down just a little bit. Let's do this. Okay, so here, for each note, I've notated what is our target note. And so here's our upper neighbor, diatonic, right? Remember, within the scale. Here's our lower neighbor, chromatic, just by a half step, no matter what. And then I'm playing the target note twice. And I'm going to show you we can do all kinds of different, what would we call them? Different figurations using this same formula. Now, this one's kind of interesting because in general, in music, we put the target notes, the chord tones, on the beat, and the ornamental tones, the non-chord tones, off the beat. But here it's done exactly the opposite, right? And yet, there's something about this lick that works. And I call this the Rondo Alla Turca lick. You can find it, I think, in Jazz Piano Fundamentals Book 2, because there's this famous piece that uses this type of figuration. So we can keep looking. So here we have D natural. And so we have our diatonic upper neighbor, and then our chromatic lower neighbor, and then just two of the target notes. Here we have E as our target note. And so we have the diatonic upper neighbor. F is from the scale. Chromatic lower neighbor, E sharp, is just a half step below. Sorry, D sharp is just a half step below E. Fair enough. All right. And then I also just wrote this out for you because C always feels a little bit like cheating, especially when we're talking diatonic stuff, because it's just black keys. Or sorry, it's just white keys. Oh boy. Oh boy. But here's B flat major scale. If it kind of just helps you conceptualize, it's not, of course, always the white keys that are going to be diatonic. It depends on your scale. So here, again, all the first notes of these groupings are from the B flat major scale. But the target notes are actually the second and fourth notes, and I've notated that for you again at the top. I don't think this requires an invitation, but of course, if it'd be helpful for you to pause at any point and just play these through, do a little bit of analysis. By the way, let's talk about fingering for a moment. For these Rondo Alla Turca figures, and I'm going to show you some arpeggios that use these, I would use the fingering 4, 3, 2, 1. So check out how this ends up looking. I end up on my thumb, which allows me then to start the next grouping. 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4. Right? And we could do something different on the black keys, but it's kind of nice actually to go 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2. Now, you might be saying, I can barely see your thumb, and that's showing you something very important, which is that in this kind of figuration, the rest of the hand is kind of draped over the thumb, which is kind of interesting. All right. I often teach arpeggios using these kinds of Rondo Alla Turca figurations. And so what I'm doing is I'm just surrounding the 1, 3, and 5, and we can do this all the way up the piano. Right, or with B flat. It's harder, for sure. Now you might ask, could I include the seventh or even the sixth in these arpeggios? And the answer is sure. Yeah, do as you like. That's including the sixth in there. All right, so these figures all go up. Let's look at some figures that go down. So here I've done the scale again, and it's a little harder to see because of the accentuation what goes together. But the general figuration here is but it's starting on an offbeat, landing on the beat. So this has exactly the same notes as the very first example I showed you of a scale going up, but it's scrambled a little bit now because we're going down. Sorry. And we could turn the same kind of figuration into an arpeggio. So elegant, right? And I've got it in B flat as well. Now my general fingering here is starting from the second note, because that's where our pattern really starts, is going to be 1, 2, 4, 3, and then 1, 2, 4, 3, 1, 2, 4, 3, 1, 2, 4, 3, 1, 2, 4, 3, 1, 2, 4, 3. So you can just keep repeating that same fingering. As you go down the piano. All right, now I just did a little bit of brainstorming of some other sorts of figurations, but hey, don't let me limit you. Anything you want to do with these elegant enclosures is up to you. So here's has a little bit of a fanfare feeling, or what? How about? And then in the next line, I wrote a few more. So these place the target note on the beat instead of having it on the offbeat, as in the Rondo Alla Turca figuration. So anything you do using these three notes, the target note, the diatonic neighbor above, and the chromatic neighbor below, is going to sound great. That's it for today's video. How about before we go, let me improvise a little bit for you. I'll play a blues, and I'm gonna improvise trying to really overuse this Rondo Alla Turca figure and these other versions of the elegant enclosure. So here's the blues. How about this? 10, 15, 20 different ways in there. Hopefully you caught some of them, and that inspires you to make your own version and to use it in your own playing. If you enjoyed this, if this was a good level, you might really find some gems to practice in Jazz Piano Fundamentals Book 2 over here in the purple. I hope you liked it. If you did, tell my baby to keep sleeping, because fortunately he's still fast asleep. Thanks for watching, everybody.